Hello. So there was once a young boy that came home from his first day of school in first grade, and he got off the bus and he had his big backpack, and there was probably only 2 or 3 little pieces of paper in there. And his mother's there waiting for him. And she's really excited and really happy. And the little boy's not so much. And she says to him, honey, what'd you learn in school today? Tell me. And he looks at her and he says, I guess I didn't learn enough. They're making me go back tomorrow. And you're here on a Sunday, so well done. I'm just going to spend a few minutes with you talking about packing for the journey, and it's the journey of life. Some of us are a little bit further along than you, but I want to just kind of knock on your door and see if there's some things that you may take away from it. The number on the slide, 19,883, represents the number of days that I've been alive. The minus 6 minutes there is when I was dead, when I was 28 years of age. You see, I was lowering a metal ladder with a friend of mine, and we thought we were going to miss the electric line, and we didn't. We hit it by 1/4 of an inch. And 8,000 to 10,000 volts of electricity came down the ladder, and it went into both of our bodies, and it killed us. I came back. My friend didn't, 36 years of age, 3 kids, wonderful brother, husband, father, son, friend. 10 days after that accident, I got out of the hospital and I came back home to my parents' house, and I slid into a very, very dark place that a human being can go to. Very stressed out, very depressed, because of the accident and the blame that I placed on myself. So, about 2.5 months after coming home, after the accident, in that state that I was in, I went to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and I wasn't quite sure I was going to come back from the Outer Banks of North Carolina. My mind was not right. And about 2 or 3 days after being there, I was walking back from a bar because I drank way too much then, because it was a tough time in life. So I turned to alcohol. That doesn't work. So I'm walking back to my motel room, and I go past a phone booth. Now, some of you remember what a phone booth is. Some of you wonderful young people are going, wait, is that like an app for what is a phone booth, right? It's a little box where you would go in. So I walked into this phone booth, and I called my mother, and she said, when are you coming home? We can't wait to see you. She had no idea what I was thinking about doing to myself. And through tears and a big lump in my throat, I said, you know what, Mom? I'll be home in a couple days. I love you too. And I walked out of the phone booth into this seashell parking lot down in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And as I walked back to my room, listen to the question. I asked myself, I wonder what it's going to be like when I get better. And since that time, I have paid particular attention to what I pack on this road called life and this journey. So what I started to experiment with when I walked out of that phone booth is this. I developed a vision for myself. And I want you to start to think, do you practice developing visions for yourselves? I find in my work less than 10% of the people do. But here's what happens. Vision is our ability to imagine what needs to be real before it's real. Walt Disney, anybody been to Disney World down in Florida? Walt Disney was walking around on that property with his brother Roy. And Roy said, I really hope we live to see this built. And Walt Disney looked at him and said, I've already seen it. You see the power of that vision? So for me, it was to get better and develop that vision. So I want you to think about this. Here we are, almost at the end of April. I want you to think about New Year's Eve coming up in 8 months. If you have a really good 8 months in all those areas of your life right now, and I see you on New Year's Eve, and I say to you, hey, Reese, or whoever it might be, I say, how's life since we were last together? And you go, it's really good, Danny, it's awesome. And I ask, why? That's your vision. You're going to tell me everything that needs to happen in your life. So as you graduate, and some of you are off to Salesianum or some other schools, what needs to be real for you? I would encourage the teachers and you to try this out. Write a letter back to yourself dated December 31st, 2018. and write everything that needs to happen for you as a student, as an athlete, as a son, as a daughter, as a friend. And then put it in your phone or put it in your calendar and just read it once a week. And see if that doesn't create some inspiration for you and some focus so that you make sure you're taking the action to make all of that real. Does that make sense for you? Just experiment with that. So develop vision. Think about it. Now, when young elephants are caught and they're trained for a circus, they are restrained by a chain or a large rope around their ankle, and then it's connected to a substantial tree or a large stake driven deeply into the ground. And you know what happens? That elephant tries to break free, and it struggles and it struggles and it struggles over and over and over again until it gives up. Now, as that elephant grows to be a massively powerful animal, it's restrained the same way. It could break free anytime it wants to. The only reason it doesn't is because it's been conditioned to believe that it can't. So your beliefs, my young friends, we all have them. They are the thoughts that we have about our life. Your sports, your school activities, your classes, your relationship with your parents, moving into a new school, into a new high school. We all have our beliefs. When our beliefs bundle up, there's a good picture there, huh? They form our mindset, which is really the attitudes that we have. Here's how it all comes together for you. The outcomes that we create for ourselves in our life, how we perform in school, in relationships, as a daughter, as a son, perhaps in sports. The outcomes that we create typically come from the actions that we take. Our actions come from our emotions and how do we feel. Do you ever make a mistake and your parents go, "What were you thinking?" Anybody? And you go, "Well, I wasn't." That's why we made the choice. I'm guilty of that as well. So you see, everything that we create out here comes from the inner circle. What are our beliefs? What are our mindsets around that? So when times are tough for you, have any of you had tough times? Do you think you'll have some more in life? Yes? If you want to change the outer circle, you've got to go in here and do the work on the inner circle. How am I thinking about this? So when you have a less than desirable outcome on a test, in a sporting event, in an extracurricular activity, maybe you get mad and you get into an argument with your teachers or your mom and your dad. Here's what I want you to think. Remember what Mr. Bader, Danny, said to you. That does not define you. It's merely an event. It didn't come out the way that you want it to come out. That's how I want you to think about it. Learn from it and then move on. Do not let it define you as a wonderful young person. Make sense? So, here's a great example. Wilma Rudolph. 3 gold medals in the 1960 Olympics. But watch what she was up against. She was a premature baby. She was the 20th of 22 children. She almost died when she was 4, and she wore leg braces and said, "Don't know if you're going to be able to walk again." Look at the beliefs that she had about that. Remember, I just talked to you about our beliefs and our thoughts? She only competes with herself, doesn't compare herself to other people. You got to struggle. It's going to be tough sometimes, but it's worth it. And sometimes we will have outcomes that we can learn from. Now, here's the thing this young lady was told by her doctors. They said, "You will never walk again." Her mother said, "Yes, you will." She chose to believe her mother. See how the beliefs drive your outcome? So I want you to think about this as you go. Hold useful thoughts, even in those challenging times that we're going to have. Hold useful thoughts. Another thing you might want to pack in your bag is to seek support. How many of you ask for help when you need it? Wonderful. That is a sign of a strong person. Ask your parents, ask your teachers, ask your friends. When you feel bad, go seek support. Read books, watch videos. You also want you to be support. We have 3 kids. 2 boys got out of Salesianum. And they have a daughter at Padua. Our middle guy is in Los Angeles now, and he's studying film and acting and screenwriting and movies. And we were out there in August, and we came out, the whole family, we came out of a restaurant, and our middle son had half of a steak quesadilla in a to-go container. And as we walked out of that restaurant in Los Angeles, we were greeted by a young homeless man going through a trash can. My son looked at me, I looked at him, he looked at the homeless man, he looked back at me, and I went, and he walked over and he gave it to him. And the homeless man smiled nervously, looked around, and then kind of jogged down the street. My son felt good when we give back, right? Now here's the interesting thing. About an hour later, my daughter and I are in a car, not far from that, and we're at a red light. Who walks in front of the car? The exact same young homeless man with a smile and a bounce in his step. Now, that may be due to the fact that he had a full belly, or the fact that he received a wonderful act of love from another human being. I would choose for the latter. Lead with love, my friends, right? Lead with love. The world needs a whole lot more of it. And as I look, you're the future. Make sense? Lead with love. And also, in any way that you can, connect with something bigger than us. When I died and my heart stopped and the electricity put holes in both of my feet, no blood was there because it cauterized everything. I was looking into holes in my feet. When my body stopped, there was a part of me that did not. My soul, my spirit, my energy. Yoda from Star Wars, maybe call it the Force, right? The Force, strong in this one it is. It's pretty good, right? These guys are laughing. All right. It went somewhere else, and it was beautiful. And when I expressed concern about my mom and my girlfriend, who's my wife now, it came back into my body, and I came back to life. I am not so special that I am the only person that has that energy in me. We all have it. It's a wonderful source of support, so be sure to connect to it in whichever way you do. So, as we move on now, and you have a backpack for your journey in life, think about what's in it. Think about what's in it. Because we all have this number, right? 19,883. How many days I've been alive? Yours is a lot smaller than that. And the life that we have is a gift. But you know what else is another gift? Is the question marks. The rest of our life is those question marks. And I would trust that we'll get a lot more days in those question marks. So here's what I want you to think and consider and take to heart the insight here of the writer. George Bernard Shaw was an Irish writer. Life is not so much about finding yourself. It is about creating yourself. So as you walk out into your question marks, for all of us, and we've got that backpack on our journey of life, be sure that you have in there a really big, bold vision for yourself. Imagine what you're going to create for your life. Hold useful thoughts. Seek support. Be support to other people. And connect with that something bigger than us. You'll be really glad you did. Thank you.